Hi guys, welcome back to another Planner Project video. So in this one I'm going to be using Microsoft Access to set up the data that I'm going to be using within my application. So it's quite a long process, so I'm probably going to break this down into two parts. Just otherwise you're not spending like 40 plus minutes watching the same video, which can get quite tedious. So it just breaks it up a bit. So that being said, if you haven't seen any of the other videos in my project, I'm going to put a link in the top right hand corner, to the playlist. So if you want to start from the beginning, then just be sure to click that button. But that being said, let's hop into the video. So the first thing that I've gone and done is I've created a new database inside of Access. So what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using a .mdb database, just because that is by standard, like by default supported inside of Visual Studio. So I just went ahead and created that in just a separate directory for now. I've put it inside of like my designs directory, but where you put it is unimportant, just so long as you know where it is. The name also isn't particularly important, but again, name it something sensible, not just like a.mdb, just so when you're looking for it, there we are, it's data.mdb, and it's where I put it. So, I've already worked out what kind of data that I'm going to want within my application. Okay, so let me go across to that. So I'm going to have users. So that means that various people on the set that are using the same system, same user, can have access to this. Also, because this is just if you wanted to, you could extend this so that the data is accessed from a server, maybe. But that isn't how because I'm only going to be running it on my system. It's just proof of concept. Then I'm just going to do it through this way. But yeah, so I'm going to have a user, so they're going to have a username and a password. And I am going to hash this password, but that will be done in the code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Access and name this users. Then what I'm going to do is this first field here is always the primary key. So each record, so this is a record, each field is going to have a name, a data type, and some description if you want to give it that. So that's what I've done here. I've said username, so field name, data type, and then I've put a comment here if I need it. So for most of them I haven't added a comment just because you don't really need them. And in the case of user, the only reason that I've put the primary key here, so I will make a note, just say this is the primary key, is because usually if you primary key, you just have an ID. But we want our users to have unique usernames. So rather than having more data in the form of an ID as our primary key, we might as well just keep usernames as the primary key, just so that it makes accessing the data easier, per se. So I'm going to say username and password. Both these are strings. So username, and this is going to be short text, and password, again short text, and this is going to be hashed inside of the program for security. So if I go ahead and save this, click view, I can now create a new users with a username and password. If I was to extend this to more than just, if I planned on extending this to more than just so you can sign in and associate data to a user, I might add more data, but because this is it, if you're signing in, it's about you. You already know your username, you already know your password, and there's no communication between the users. So I'll create my users table, and now I'm going to create another table. So I'm going to go across to the Create tab, Table Design, and I'm just going to save this, and I'm going to do my event. So let me quickly just go through the data that I'm going to be adding. So I know that I'm going to be keeping tracks of events to as like my calendar, as it were, but because it isn't going to be in the form of days, weeks, months, it'll be more, this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, just so you don't have to go. So say you didn't have there's a whole month where you didn't have anything planned, but in like your calendar, then you don't want to have to scroll through reams and reams of time just to go, oh yeah, there's my next thing. So yeah, so events, they're going to have title, so what the event is, a description, so it's a basic what this event is, description, a little bit more detailed. So say you got a work meeting, and then in your description you could say a meeting with so and so to discuss so and so. When is the event? And then this stuff here, I've included it in all of these. So basically, oh, I just need to add that there. So basically, the whole point of that is to just so I can keep track of when I created this record, when I last updated it, and if I remove it, when did I remove it? So basically, that just means that if there's any, it just means that I have that data. Like, oh, I did have this event, but I removed it, so you can then recall it at a different time. If you wanted to hard delete it, if you want to hard remove it, then you could go into the data. Well, in fact, you wouldn't be able to go into the data, but you would be able to, in some way, I may add like a hard remove, as in completely remove, you can't get it back, etc. But for the time being, I'm going to have this removed, and I'm going to have that for all of them. So let me put in all of these things. So title, description, and I can't think of a better name for when, but because I'm not actually going to be implementing the data at any point in the near future, what I'm going to be, because I'm going to make the UI first and really basic behaviors first, such as like going between pages, then what I'm instead going to do is I'm going to type in what I'm going to leave it at when for now, but at a later date, when I actually implement it, I might have thought of a better name by then. So it's going to be events. So so let's just say ID. It is an auto number. So an auto number is just a auto number is change that back. So an auto number is just a number that automatically increments every single time you add a new record. Okay, so it will start at 1, then it will go to 2, it will go to 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So you don't have to manually add in the ID. That stops you from accidentally trying to add in add in a record with the same ID that already applies. So I'm going to have a title. That's just going to be short text. A description. If I could type, that's what's going to be short text. When? That's going to be a date/time. And then I'm just going to have my created, updated, removed. Created, updated, removed. So I just need to make these removed. I need to be able to make it so that I don't require it and it's default. Okay, but these ones here are required. Oh, I can't just select multiple. So they are required. Description isn't required, but a title will be. And you can't just put nothing inside of it. Yes, cool. So now I can save that, come to this view. As you can see, you can't actually enter anything manually into that because it's automatically going to do it when you actually add something in. One thing I did forget in this, however, and that was just because I was planning out what data I wanted, is the fact that I'm going to need to link this event to this user. So that when I'm searching, so when I run the program and I'm loading all the data into my data models and assign it to a user, all I'm going to want is one core user. In fact, yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep track of the user, and then when I want to look for events, I can just load in all the events that are associated to a particular user. So I'm going to have to add in another row just above it and just say user, and this is going to be a short text. And then when I do the relationships, so say that I'll be able to say this user is linked to the username. Let me just change the view. The username field inside this database, inside of this table. Right. So I've got ID. We've got all of that now. I'm going to quickly go ahead and fill in all the others. In fact, no, I won't. What I'm going to do is now. So we've done these. We've done that. We're down to cash flow activity. So this is so that we can keep track of how much money we have. So how much money we've put in, taken out, when we put it in, and yeah, that kind of details. And also what it was used, what was spent on. And I'm actually going to put a description here. Description. That's going to be string. The reason that I've done it with these data types rather than the ones that are inside of my Access is just because these are like my C# data types. So yeah, and then I will be adding more to this later, like to this document, but they will be one that I'll put comments next to them just to say that they're going to be part of the application data models. But for now, just because I'm doing the database, I haven't included them, just so I don't accidentally end up adding them, despite the fact that they can be calculated inside of the application. Because things like if it's occurred, then this when will have been in the future, and I can just calculate that. In fact, I may even remove them if it's already occurred. So next table is the capital activity. So it's going to have a title, a description, how much money went in on that activity, how much money came out in that activity, because it could be either of them. The activity date, so when did I do this thing, and the standard create update removed. So let me quickly just add them into my database. So create table, change that, and I'm going to call this cash flow activity. It's going to have an ID, title, which is text, a description, money in, and I'm going to make this a number, and it's going to have no decimal places, so that means that I want it to be a integer. So in fact I can actually just say integer, money out is going to be a number, and it is also going to be an integer. Activity date, it's going to be a date time, created, date time, updated, date time, and created, updated, and removed, date time. Again, I'm going to have to associate this to a user. So insert row, user, short text. Wonderful. So if I was going to be actually managing this data from within Access as a database, I could do some other stuff, such as make a lookup, so that when you're selecting which user it was, it will automatically try to find, it will bring down a drop down list of users that are acceptable. But because I'm going to be managing my data from outside of the application, outside of this view, so it'll all be done within Visual Studio. I'm not going to bother with that. So that's saved. Next one down is personal notes. So basically, I'm going to have two kinds of notes. I'm going to have personal notes and project notes. So the reason I put them here separately for now is because project notes are also going to have an associated project, and I did forget to add that here. That's going to be an int. In fact, no, I forgot it there for a particular reason, because the project note is associated to a project. Project task is associated to a project. So that means that I don't have to link back to user, I have to link back to this project. But more on that later. So personal note, they're going to have a title, content, and the free standard things, as well as an association to user. So let's come into here, create table, design view, and this is going to be called personal note, plural. It's going to have an ID, it's going to have a user, which is just short text, a title, which is short text, content, which is short text, created, which is a date time, updated, which is a date time, and removed, which is a date time. Save that. Thanks for watching, guys. I know I cut that a tad short, but like I said at the beginning of the video, this is going to be a long process. So I will be continuing this on in the next video, but for the time being, that's all from me today. If you like what you saw, consider clicking the like button. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button, and consider clicking the notification bell icon below to keep up to date with what I'm up to. So for the time being, that's it, and I'll see you in the next one.